the Dauntless. Wait, wait there, Modan notes as his eyes widen slightly. Your code is shifting in response to my looking. Is this? Am I hurting you? No, it's not that. You're totally not like hurting anyone by looking darling. The code is forever updating. We're young by Gravia standards, so our code isn't very complicated. Your code is making me slowly go cross-eyed as I try to read it, Modan remarks. Then stop reading it, you goof, Jadza chides him even as the 420 sisters laugh a little. Right, well, Modan begins before he senses something outside and extends his perception that way. A giant moth? A what? Jadza asks, just as the image coalesces into a moth woman with the crazy eyes and diving towards the cafe in question. An earthany who's swooping down and... The entire cafe jumps as the moth woman slams into the windows to discover that they're reinforced and she can't break through. The fuzzy white woman collapses to the ground and pops right back up to rush for the door, then scratch it a few times before getting things right and rushing in. Even more concerning is that her axiom presence is jagged for lack of a better term. Her emotions are whipsawing in every direction and she's clearly in a manic state of some kind. Caffeine, she shouts as she slams her claws onto the counter and looks around while outright shaking as she stood. What? Jadza asks in surprise as Modan blinks and halfway between the blink it all clicks. The alterations to the Earthani species and the variations that were reported by Sergeant Blue. One variant with a null, resistant physiology and an aggressive attitude. I think that's one of the new Earthani variants. There's one that looks normal but actually is null resistant, aggressive, and robust, Modan says. I think she's on a caffeine high. Like what? Eve asks, as Teresa 86 comes out of the back to try and deal with a young woman attempting to vibrate her way through solid objects and leaving scratch marks all over her counter and floor. A legal stimulant, but addictive. Often served with a huge amount of sugar as well, which is also an addictive stimulant in high enough quantities. So the sugar of an exotic human food lured her in, and the caffeine has her downright vibrating. Is she going to be all right? It flushes out of the system harmlessly. Hell, a huge portion of the human population intakes large amounts of caffeine and sugar daily. But I should give her a scan just in case. It is possible to overdose on literally anything, even if you need utterly absurd amounts for it, he says, standing up and patting at his pocket. Teresa 86, I need to borrow a chemical scanner. The young Earthani appears to be undergoing a caffeine overdose. And she's asking for more? Teresa 86 demands, even as the young Earthani's antenna twitch in an attempt to keep her focus on things, and the woman tries to stare her down into complying. It's addictive, generally harmless in small doses, but she's not had a small dose, Modan says, stepping away from the table and slowly, obviously walking up to the young woman. She slashes at him the moment he's in arm's reach before suddenly backing up, and her face goes through a dozen expressions even as her axiom presence suddenly janks into about 5 different formations. Calm down, young lady. You're in a manic state brought up on by all the caffeine. No one is going to hurt you. Just calm down and wait for the chemicals to pass through your system. You're going to be fine, he says, even as Teresa 86 brings him the chemical analyzer. She flutters back and brings her claws up in preparation for a fight as he scans her. He then turns the screen towards her. Look, see? You're digesting the caffeine fine and you're going to be okay. Just calm down. She lets out a long series of trills, takes a few deep breaths, and then, but I want, loud trill, I want more. I want more. It's addictive. Calm down and you can get more later. But you've had too much now, he says in a calm and even tone, and is only somewhat surprised when her emotions ripsaw back across themselves so fast that she decides to solve her problems by jumping him and trying to stab him with her foreclaws. She gets dodged and knocked down with a chop right between the antenna. "Calm down!" "No!" she screams, and as she swings, he reinforces his hand to the point she can't cut him and starts slapping away the flailing claws. "I will not be calm. My heart is racing. The world looks weird and nothing is right. Stop shouting at me." "Calm down," he says as she jumps at him again and earns another chop in between the antenna. She gets up trying to rub her head and then suddenly yelping in pain as she cuts herself. She's so jittery she can't even be trusted by herself. Thankfully, she's far from toxic levels, but she clearly started experimenting with the new foods she could eat, found caffeinated soda, and had way too much. "Let's start again, hello little girl. I am Modin Maji, a quartermaster stationed on the Dauntless. I am one of the undaunted. Who are you?" "Are you hitting on me?" she demands. "No, I'm trying to calm you down. You've had too much caffeine and you've run headlong into a massive high in addiction. You need to..." He abandons the speech and dodges the sudden spear shooting out from the girl's mouth. By reflex, his hand comes up and wraps around the tongue spear that she just shot at him. "Ego!" She orders him as she instantly begins thrashing, and then she smacks herself in the face when he does. "You're mean! And you're out of control, young woman. Calm down before you hurt yourself or others." Modan chides her. "If you weren't trained, she would have hurt you. This needs to end. Drugged up or not, she's still at least partially responsible for her actions. An unprovoked assault of a soldier in good standing is not to be overlooked," Jadza says, rising up and stepping away from the table even as May holds up her communicator. "Call the police. This has to end." "This doesn't have to end badly. She's a child making a mistake. No one's hurt yet. Damage to property can easily be paid for," Modan states even as the jittering and manic teen looks from Jadza to him over and over again. Her antennae are twitching frantically and are nearly a blur as she tries to make sense of things. He decides to keep her attention on him. "Child, what did you drink? Was it soda? Coffee? A latte?" "It said energy, that it would make you have lots of energy, and I've been feeling tired since coming out of the cocoon with it's so weird. I should just have energy, but everything too much." "It would be, what you had is for when you're exhausted and need to put in a few hours of hard work. They have a huge amount of caffeine in them. It will pass, though, it will pass, and you will be fine. Calm down. Find some calm. What? No, I can't. Everything's moving. I'm moving. I can't stop moving. Nothing's stopping. This is horrible. I need to stop, but I can't," she blurts out fast with bits of trilling interspaced between it all. "Then burn it off. Come on, I'm going outside. Try to keep pace and it will help you burn away all the extra energy," he says as he backs out of the building, and step by hesitating step, the young Earthani girl follows him. "All right. This is going to be simple. You're too wound up and you need something to do. So catch me. That's the game. Nice and easy. Just tag me once and you win," he says as she looks around. She seems to openly scoff and rushes at him. He not only easily twists out of her reach, but gives her a swat. "Try again, kiddo." She rushes again with her arms flailing as she screeches in frustration. "What are you doing?" Jadza demands. "She needs to burn off the excess energy. Think of it like having an overcharged system. Use or release the extra energy and things go back to normal minus the strain," Modan explains. "Strain?" the Earthany girl demands even as she tries to flap at him as hard as she can. It's nowhere near enough, but he's keeping the dodge close to keep her interested. "What you're doing now isn't normal, and you can't feel it, but you're getting tired. The caffeine is just covering up all the exhaustion. Once you burn through it, you'll suddenly feel all the exhaustion you were ignoring, and that's what's called crashing," Modan explains. "But that sucks. Why would anyone want this stuff if they crash?" the Earthani girl demands frantically as she starts huffing from the effort of things. She's not feeling the strain, but she's strained. Sometimes the crash is worth it. Sometimes you need to get things done now and you'll have time later to rest and recover from a crash. There's plenty of reasons. Modan explains as he can see things almost shifting in the girl. How long ago did you have the energy drink? I don't know, a couple hours? I've been flying around from spire to spire and now I want more of it, so I came here. I see, so you're near a crash anyways. Good. That makes this easier. Modan notes and the girl screeches. What about this is easy? She demands, charging him, and this time as he gets out of the way, he trips her. She hits the ground hard and does not get back up. Ow. And a last little shock. How do you feel? He asks. Tired, stupid, sore. She answers slowly. That checks out. So can I have your name now? Falala, she says slowly, coming off the ground. How? It's called a crash for a reason. It would have been easy for you to recover from that trip if you weren't already tired. The bit of pain from falling just helped your body catch up, Modan says as he walks over to her and offers his hand. He can't help but note that she's finally calm enough to put up a defensive barrier around her claw so as not to harm him as she takes it. All right, now that you're calm, can you tell me exactly where you got your claws around a human-grade energy drink? Even if you can digest it, it's still not something that should be easily on the market. Falala says, standing up and looking around. What spire am I on? This is Borga Spire, Eve says, walking up, and Falala closes her eyes, muttering something about it being even worse now. I crossed 5 spires. Wow, Falala says after a few moments of thought. What time is it? I feel like I've been flying and fighting for days. Just past midday, Modan says, and her eyes snap open. Midday? But I was going to... Oh no, Mom, she's going to be so scared and... Oh no, Falala says, even as a police cruiser pulls into view and starts flying down at them. The platen that emerges is a stark contrast to Falala, dark in hue and armor and with stern, almost angry disposition compared to Falala's fidgety, timid state. She might be more brash and bold compared to other Urthani, but that doesn't mean she's going to be thrusting her claws into everything. Another manic Urthani. There's been a rash of your types, but you don't have any obvious mutations. The officer states down at her. Officer. Modan states, drawing more attention to himself, and the woman looks at him, judging, evaluating, briefly undressing him with her eyes, but then her focus goes back to Falala. She was testing out her changed biology. She has robust internal organs, so she tried human food, and the drink she tried was a powerful stimulant, so she didn't know how to respond. She drugged herself. She had an energy drink. While not recommended, you could feed one to a child with no lasting harm. She didn't know how to handle the caffeine, though, and went crazy. I see. So you are claiming this is a Beta-14 situation? The officer asks, and Modan pulls out his communicator to look that up. She clarifies it for him. It means she imbibed a non-toxic substance that was not designed for her species, and it had adverse effects on her judgment and behavior. Yes, this is her first time with caffeine, and she had far too much. I've had caffeine for much of my life, but even I am cautious about having an energy drink, Modan confirms. I see, I still need to assess the damages, but unless the business owner brings up charges, there will be no legal repercussions, the officer states. Young lady, do not go anywhere unless you actually want to be charged, and this should be sorted out quickly.